May felt very alone sometimes, and that wasn't anything special in town of Possum Springs. But this time after the death of Mr. Chorowski, couldn't help but wonder if she really mattered in the scheme of things, of anything, not a piece of the puzzle or anything or anyone to talk to. So from her room, with a broken lamp that she broke herself, she grabbed an old backpack and jacket which she had in high school. It was kind of going out of phase for her to feel devastated about Andy Cullen's life, and definitely her own. Putting on her own jacket, it still fit her well. She was still reminded of the terror and imagery that showed people, but she didn't really care. Not after what happened that day. She discovered that Chorowski's corpse. Hell, this might be her last night full of what we need to know. Without speaking or really talking about it or thinking about it much, she left her room with her backpack, listening to the droplets of outside. She closed the wooden entrance and down the stairs, and she walked down the stairs until she was part of and when her family was gone from anywhere in the town. But she wasn't that special. She couldn't help but try and desperately look, finding nothing, of course. She walked over to the shower and slower to the door with Borowski residence, still hearing the rain softly hitting the walls. With at least her shoes and her jacket on, she opened up the wooden door and walked outside of the house. It was pouring with thunder and heavy rain. It wasn't too dark outside, not pure blackness, but she saw the dark night right in front of her. "Rain," she said, with a stern face. "Couldn't it be clear outside?" She then took a step into the puddle, and the rain just set the sidewalk. But with that said, it was deeply cold, even though it had been spring for some time now. Her head was wet, her jacket was wet, but her own heart was definitely dry inside. She looked into the watery reflection of the sidewalk for a moment, but her glowing blood-red eyes, she was the first thing that popped up. They were still menacing on the hypnotic, and now that was pumped on, she began to tear up and look at herself as the rain kept secret in. "I'm just no one, am I?" Then there was a few moments. Looking into the wet pavement, the cat moved on drowsy footsteps towards the road. The street was about empty, besides from moving the cars, and there were no birds singing like before. She felt empty like the street. She really did. In the time of 10 years, she had done high-handedly destroyed her good reputation as a citizen, a friend and a normal person. Everything was given out, and perhaps her jacket helped out a little more after that night. It did happen after therapy. She continued to slow down her walk for the barren of the streets, not having to strafe to look forward in the heavy rain. Walking up to the concrete hill, she didn't say hello to anyone, even who she last considered her neighbor. She was ashamed of them, of herself. She didn't know how the answer, but she did not try for it. Her socks and shoes were getting wet as she walked further and up the steps into the church, but she didn't mind. The cold was only an emotion that she could feel right now. Without hesitation, she walked inside. The church was clearly entirely not empty of noise, but at least she felt some warmth and silence from the downpour. She lay down on one of the wooden seats, and she looked at the infinite ceiling of stone and concrete. "I'm not sure what to say. God, I am really not sure. But I guess I'm running far away. That not even could spot me. So far that no one would care who am I or was probably, but that was all visible power wasn't enough for her situation." And she shortly left the church after her first coincidence, walking out of the wet footsteps with a blank mind, walking down through a large dread of little city in her tiny jacket. May couldn't help but wonder what kind of person she really was right now. She could end herself, and it wouldn't matter for long, would it? At least she was stronger than that. The roads that led to Possum Springs weren't so much feverish, they were just being dirt roads. The only clear road and out of the town was the one from the highway, but there was much more people that she could follow. May then went through the cult, and then she went through all the murders that came after her, and then it hit her like an 18-wheeler. A ghost of hers was traveling through the forest, where the mine began. She had angry and quite fierce face all across the way that she could imagine just why. She discovered the entire cult dedicated to killing residents. She found out what really happened to her best friend Casey Hartley here. And of course she needed to talk to that thing. She had nightmares about it. She got to the demolished well after the rain stopped, and after everything grateful happened here. She was just sickened. She couldn't really stand there and go for long, getting her reminded on top of the deep memories from months ago. The mine went further than many knew, and then it carved into the mine as crazy people after all. The forest paths got smaller and smaller, and then there was just footwork that entered into the wet and slippery mud. Her shoes were already muddy, so it didn't matter much. What matters is that the light was approaching soon, and it seemed that she had walked the entire way through the forest of theirs. Although she couldn't go anywhere, she would at least have to take some direction in her head. She was gonna go by the Salty Creek, and they were through passing by some neighborhoods of the towns of old, if she could make it. She had destroyed her life, so her journey would be at least to make up to her. It was becoming midnight, so she had to hurry before the sun rose into the sky, and she had to hurry before the killer comes in after her next. But when she got to the elevator and looked down below, she expected to find a body of the cultist who was named Eddie, but it was gone. What? Where's the body? Where is it? How? May began to lose the brain capacity from her words. She was stammering all over the place, and she was completely baffled. Then it hit her harder. Eddie must have survived somehow, and wanted revenge on her and her friends for running everything the cult had planned. Most likely since they tried to kill him and his friends, or partners or whatnot, inside the mines. Eddie must have wanted her to lose everything, just like he did. That must have been his master plan all along, and now it was taking a full swing. First he killed Mr. Penderson, next the clock, and then Mr. Churowski. Then May had thought of who could be he was going to kill next, but she didn't tell who. May began to think of, to get the killer, I have to think like one. So then she began to sit down and think who Eddie would be strike until she got shut up in horror. Mom? Dad? It was approximately 1:41 in the morning when May sprinted out of the mine, down the hall into the woods, and then down the street until all the way back home. She opened the door and looked around. Nobody was present. Mom? Dad? May called out. No one answered. Probably already asleep. But May already knew something was wrong. She could tell by the lit fireplace. The lit fireplace was untouched when she left. Hello? Still no one answered. Oh my god, please be okay. She then began to pray whatever god would be ascended from upstairs into her parents' bedroom. She could still see that they were gone. But that was weird, since they already know they would be home around this time. She entered to look around, and then she looked at the doors, a familiar voice saying cruelly, "Turn around." She did as the voice said, and with the look of a pure most terror, and suddenly her face was faced with none other than Eddie. This is all his right arm was replaced by a severed stump where his arm should be, and his left hand had been a firearm that was pointing at her head. May gasped for breath as her thoughts were 100% correct. "It's you, May Timley. It's been you all along." "Oh, what's the matter? Lost for words? I expected more. I thought you'd be braver than this." "I guess I was wrong. I thought you were dead," May said, still timid by Eddie's sudden return. Eddie growled in fury. "How long did you have to wait before killing me? A month? A week? I trusted you, and you just left me to die? What? Well, what do you mean I trusted you? You were trying to kill me." Eddie paused and then rolled his eyes in frustration. "You have no idea, do you, May?" "How do you know my name?" May asked flatly. Clearly she was blown back by Eddie before saying her name. Eddie suddenly turned off the light and then his miner's helmet and took it off, introducing his hood, revealing something May did not expect to see. Eddie was the same fur color and the same eye color as hers, but because we used to be family. May then placed one of her paws in her mouth, and her eyes became wide as two skulls. No, this can't be happening. "Don't you remember me? Don't you remember your big brother?" "Why are you telling me this?" "Because Mom and Dad never told you. They wanted to tell you that your dad was until you're old enough to understand. But I guess they suffered from amnesia, and they probably forgot about me. They erased me from their thoughts completely after I was taken to that asylum." May was then fueled by his revulsion. Why hasn't Candy told her daughter that she had a brother? Eddie then continued to rant. "You think you had it rough. Just to be grateful that you're not me. When I was your age, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I see things that weren't there. and my emotions have caused me to become so violent that I had to take pills to get rid of those weird things. When I ran out, I mauled a man to death with my gardening tools, and then I was sent to a nearby mental hospital. But unfortunately, after that, when I came out, I was fine and normal, but one day in college it happened again and again and again until I got a major bad reputation amongst other students and college professors. So I dropped out and went home. Sounds familiar, correct? Then Mom and Dad said that I needed help, and they think it's best if they took me to a special place. With that being disgusting, crap-stained shack, they can call it an asylum. For years they gave me a shock therapy, and it had me attacked by inmates, pricked with needles, and they even fed me nothing but slop. At the age of 22, I escaped and made my name for everyone out in the cult to join me in Possum Springs. And the years went by, and then I saw you. Oh God, have you grown. I knew you would be the one to lead the cult into their everlasting paradise. But you chose to go down a different route and tried to kill me and trap all of us that might. Well, I guess you can't count on that, everyone, huh? But now that it's about to change, besides, Mom and Dad always liked you better, and they would have loved me the same way. I guess that it's the time I get my revenge. May just watches as Eddie points the gun at her and begins to pull back the hammer. She then dodges the first bullet and runs to the other room, where she hides in the darkness as Eddie searches around the home with tremendous stealth. May then continues to hide in the shadows until she felt like hours. Until she knows that the coast is clear, she lurks up to her bedroom, grabs the bat that was nearly burnt, and then she goes back downstairs where Eddie attempts to bash him over the head with no avail. As Eddie tries to fire his gun at her, but all of his shots end up missing, and then when May whacks him again, Eddie would miss a shot at her. This went on for quite some time until he ran out of ammunition, so he then used one of his largest knives and the knife holder there just to get the swing of his own. But the two went back and forth for an hours until the end, and the light of the morning came, and both sister and brother began to resemble to two demons at war in another. Angus, Greg, and Bee and Germ all raced down towards the Borowski's home. May must have texted them about Eddie that she was hiding earlier, and they were more ready to face the madman. May and Eddie were now covered in slashes, bruises, and even bathed in their own blood. They continued to fight in the living room and the fireplace, and made it look like two animals rustling around the campfire. May and Eddie then were out of the breath, and they circled around each other just for a few moments before Eddie took a swinging fist, and May ducked and swing her head back at the head. But of course, with what seemed to be like 1,000 times before he stumbled forwards into the fireplace, and he knew this time this was the opportunity to push him aside, lighting him to a blaze. Eddie shrieked as he flailed to see that he was now a man on fire. The blood was all over his body, ignited by the flames like gasoline, and the blood was also covered the floor, causing that to burn him as well. May just stood there and watched with her only brother being burnt as he collapsed on the floor and then dies. The gang then burst through the door and saw what was happening. "May," Greg said. "We got your text. Where is he?" "Right here," May said, completely out of breath. Greg saw the burnt remains of Eddie. "Damn it, you got to kill him," Greg huffled. "Greg, it's my fight, okay?" "Alright, but still, it was no fun that everyone gets to kill someone besides me." "You know how that's a federal crime, right?" Angus said. "Yeah, so that's the guy, huh?" Bay said with a puff of her smoke of cigarette. "Just desserts, I say." "Yeah, but what I did mean about being your brother," Germ asked. "Let's go upstairs and I'll tell you everything," May suggested. As they went upstairs, the police sirens could be heard outside. A whole bunch of people were already beginning to swarm at the scene. The good news is that the Borowskis were hiding this the whole time in the crawl space, and May did not know about it till now. The Borowskis were now comfortable with this since the death of Eddie, and May's father had already clicked on the news channel, and we watched the largest thing being solved. "We have breaking news. The serial killer's identity has been found. It is revealed to be Edward Isaac Borowski, the older brother of the victim, Margaret Borowski, and after escaping Lockwood Asylum years ago, it was never caught until Eddie was then seen in the Borowski's living room, with his right arm missing and his other first set on fire after a brutal confrontation with the victim. Now his body has been taken to a country morgue, and the Borowski family can now finally sleep. All changes against Summers and against the intruders were immediately dropped, and now for the weather. May just stood right in front of the mirror and gazed into her own reflection. Her eyes were now glowing as they normally do. If only if she knew how to get rid of them. But only if she knew. She then thought about what Eddie said, and now her family could care less about her brother. And then she saw her as a miracle. Why would they care? She killed someone out of insanity years ago in a softball match, and now Eddie has to make her do it again? She stared and stared and stared hard enough to actually see the details in her eyes, and then she heard a loud snap inside her brain. The shapes that mentioned months ago came back. She thought that she got rid of them, smashed into her kingdom come, but of course they were back, and she didn't fight them long. She did get used to them. She then picked up the red marker and wrote shapes on the glass of the mirror. She then began to write those lost words on the walls, the window, and inside the walls in the closet. Hell, she even wrote on the floorboards. She lost her mind during that softball match. She really lost it now, only this time permanently. She did this for a while, cackling to herself, and her eye had been right-handed and twitched as she wrote everywhere. She then did this until her dad caught coughing downstairs, and she knew she had to do. She didn't like seeing this at first, but who really gives a crap now? She grabbed her bat and next out of the room quietly, dragging the bat across the floor. Nobody knew what happened that night, but maybe it's because Eddie had finally got to her, or maybe it's something much worse. Maybe Eddie would have forgot to mention whatever was affecting him. Might pass it on to May as well. And that, my little pretties, was Night in the Woods, The Final Night, a creepypasta written by the Dark Cat. So, Dark Cat, thank you so much for the story. I really do appreciate this. This was awesome. I really have to say thank you so much for writing this story for me. This was highly appreciated. I really liked it. So, my final thoughts on the story. I actually found this one to be a rather enjoyable creepypasta. Now, take it by the fact there's 8 chapters in this, and since this story was really long, I'm going to sit here and keep the review as short as I possibly can. Overall, I found this story to be rather amazing and really well done. Like, I could actually, visualize this happening. Like, I don't know if Night in the Woods is a game or a show or something, but I could honestly, if it was a show, I could honestly see, this being the case. But if it's like a game, I could honestly see this being the case too. I actually found this story to be rather enjoyable and really well made. It had a pretty good concept when it came to this story. Like, when I first saw this story, I actually was like, wow. I think I remember seeing it, last year or something, but probably just didn't have the time to sit there and do it. But now that I had the time to sit there and, narrate it, I definitely have to say, I actually liked Night in the Woods. I actually found it to be rather enjoyable and really well done. Now, I could definitely say that I know this is a long story, and I'm going to keep the review as short as I possibly can. Now, I definitely like how the characters were acting in character. None of them were acting out of character, even though I don't know Night in the Woods. But I could definitely say this one was actually a pretty freaky pasta at times. Like, there were parts of the story that really freaked me out. Like, I'm not even joking. There were a lot of parts in the story that really freaked me out. So, it was actually one of the reasons why I was like, oh my goodness, when I looked at certain parts of the story, because of the way it went out. It was just, oh my goodness. It's amazing, like, how this story went out. This story was just amazing, really well done. It's pretty good, if you ask me. It's a really amazing story. Now, I could definitely say there's definitely one story that I definitely have to say. It was a pretty good pasta. So, with that being the case, I actually found this story to be enjoyable. So, I could definitely say the grammar was really good. I'm not going to lie, the grammar was really good. The sentence structuring was good. The storyline was good. Everything about it was just flat out amazing. It's a really good story. And I definitely have to say there was definitely a great majority of this pasta. I could honestly picture this being the case, so I could definitely say this story was actually the best story I've ever seen. I know there are other stories that did pretty good too, but this one actually did really well done. So, I could definitely say the grammar was really good. I know I said that earlier, but the grammar was good, the sentence structure was good, the storyline was good, the paragraph structuring was good. Everything about it was just flat out amazing. So I definitely gotta say, you did pretty good there, The Dark Cat. You did a really good job with this story. So I definitely have to say this was actually a pretty good story. So, with that being the case, what oh yeah, and by the way, I actually found this all the parts of the story. Now, instead of reviewing every single part after, I narrate them, I just thought I'd narrate the whole thing, basically I narrate the whole thing, while I'm, basically, well, you could definitely say, why not I, do the review while I'm, well, here, I guess. So all the parts are really good. Not gonna lie, all of them are really good. I can't find anything negative to say about this story, so this story was actually really good. It's a pretty interesting pasta, I'm not gonna lie. It's a really good pasta. I definitely have to say, this one was actually a pretty good pasta. So I definitely have to say, I love how this pasta went out. It's just flat out amazing. So with that being the case, I actually found this story to be rather enjoyable and really well made in detail. So, with that being the case, oh yeah, I'm just keeping the review as short as I possibly can. So with that being said, yeah. What did you guys? Oh yeah. Like I'm gonna say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's a pretty good story, really well made and detailed. I actually really like it. It's really cool. I actually found this story to be rather awesome. So with that being said, I actually found this story to be really good. So with that being the case, I actually found this story to be rather good. So with that said, yeah. With that being the case, I'm gonna sit there and, say this right now, that this is just simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine, too. Oh yeah, my final rating is 10 out of 10 if you guys did not notice, but if you guys wanna, take a look at this story, feel free to take a look at it. If you guys want to, you can take a look at it. It's on Goshia Wiki, if you guys are wondering. It's a pretty good story. Definitely gotta say, Dark Cat, you did pretty good with this story. So, with that being the case, yeah. What did I... Oh, yeah. With that being the case, yeah, I actually found this story to be rather enjoyable. It's a pretty good story, I'm not gonna lie. It's a really well-made story. So, with that being the case, yeah. I'm gonna sit there and, say this right now, that this is... Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, I already did that. Alright, oh, yeah. And anyway, with that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what we have done person to help make this story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out of here. And I'll be catching you all in the next video. Peace out. And as always, I'll be seeing you all in the next video.